Okay, last word on SIU would be the first word that I use, turnovers. And then looking forward to this week at Central Arkansas. Obviously, this will be a huge game, be a horseshoe game for us because they're a ranked opponent, I think 17th in the country right now. Played a really tough game against Tulsa, and had a chance to win that game, should have won that game. And you watch the tape, that was not a fluke. That was it was pretty evident in the way they played. So it'll be a tough task, one that we're up for. And we took all of yesterday and got all of our previous game stuff out of the way, kind of washed our hands with that game, and now we're focusing this week purely on Central Arkansas. And the biggest thing that I'm looking for going into this week is just effort. Effort. I've told all the coaches, don't coach caution in your kids and your players. If they do something 100 miles an hour and they swing and whiff, that's okay. I don't want those guys thinking. I don't want those guys worried or concerned or cautious about, well, if I do this, then I may get out leveraged. If I do this, I may not. I don't want them concerned with all the negatives. I want them focused purely on all the positives that can happen when we run around and we play with 100% effort, and we strike the football carrier, and we strike on blocks, and we strike on contact. So that's what we're going to be focused on this week. Got a phenomenal week of practice laid out for the guys. Spirits are good. Those guys, man, they were incredible yesterday. We took a lot of time, watched the previous game, and watched how Murray State beat Murray State. We're 0-1, and that's because Murray State's 0-1. They lost to Murray State, and that's the bottom line with last week's game. So we've kind of washed ourselves clean of that one, and we're on to the next one, and really looking forward to getting over to Conway.
Central Arkansas was a prolific passer last year, lost to graduation, but Braylon Smith did a really good job, hit 68% of his passes, didn't throw a pick. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's like you said, he did a really nice job. He's got some big targets to throw to. I think two out of their three wide receiver positions, their first guy and their backup are both 6'3" or better at those wide receiver positions. Have some explosiveness about them, even though they are that big. They're tall and long, and they run pretty well, and they use them well. Obviously they're not going to throw those guys. Those guys aren't space guys. You don't throw them out there and let them make a miss and juke and all of that kind of stuff. But they're very good at straight line route, straight line running, going up and getting the ball, high pointing the ball, and it's just a matchup. Matchup concern against corners. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think he does a phenomenal job, the quarterback does, of playing within their system, doing the things that they ask him to do, making plays and taking care of the football. But he's also got some weapons that help him do that.
SIU's defensive line was able to get penetration on you, bat some balls down. Was that primarily due to their size, or did you have guys missing assignments?
No. Size standpoint, we're about 300 pounds all across the board at offensive line. We're as big as I've ever been. We just, like I said, a lot of it came down to effort. They ran some twists and some stuff like that are tough, to pick up. It's not day one installation things. When a dude's just running down your, running nose to nose with you. So they did some things, but after watching the tape, I thought that it was just an effort thing. We got walked back a couple of times, and there's some times where we stoned them and we're just holding the football back there. The quarterback's just holding the football, not going through some reads or missing some reads, or maybe gets his eyes down. So that's the challenge that we set forth with our bigs up front, because this week it's going to get nothing but tougher. I will say this about Central Arkansas. Even with UK in the mix, they're going to be one of the, if not the toughest defensive fronts we face all year. They can go. They've got a defensive end, number 15, 16, I think it's 15. He's one of the best I've seen in a long time. Number 51 plays as a 3 technique, big, tall, long guy, very explosive, very, very explosive. He's funny when you look at him in a stance. He's kind of an awkward guy in the stance. But when he comes off the ball, he is not awkward anymore. He can put you back there in the quarterback's lap. So, we've got to play with tremendous effort. We've got to play with tremendous grit up front, and that's going to be the challenge for us this week.
Linebacker position seems to be a place you're really comfortable. Maybe just I know, just can you elaborate on what you're expecting out of that group and what you think that they can continue to do?
Same thing, physicality. I thought Quincy Williams played with tremendous physicality the other night, made some big pops, some big plays. TJ Warren's getting a little bit more comfortable in there with from a schematic standpoint, just learning how Coach Johnson wants it done. I thought, Ironhead, Kendrick Caddis, I thought he played phenomenally. And then, obviously y'all just talked to AK. I thought he did a tremendous job. So we do have some depth there. We've got some guys that we can move around in some different spots. They can do different things, whether it's come off the edge. You saw that in Quincy Williams, come off the edge with a big sack. So they can do some different things, and that's always fun when you don't have to be so stagnant and so stale. You can move those guys around and create some havoc. But again, the biggest thing that I want to see even more so out of that group this week is I want to see effort. I want to see us having a little bit more reckless abandonment when we go and make plays. And if we see daylight, let's go hit daylight. And when we see the ball carrier, let's go strike him right now. And not be so cautious sometimes in our movement and worrying about, well, what if I go over there and miss? Well, what if the lights shut down in the middle of the game? What if it doesn't, what if? So that's the challenge with the whole football team. And it starts right there from a defensive standpoint. It's going to start right there in those front four up front as well. And, getting to that quarterback and making him uncomfortable.
What about being the first road trip of the season? It's a long one. You got to wait all day to play. Is that just something you get through?
Yeah. I think that's all part of. I think that's what kind of adds to, especially when you got some new guys, and some young guys who've never done that before. I think that's all super positive. I like getting on the bus with those guys and riding and watching the movies and listening to them laugh at the movies, and kind of seeing their personality. Some of the movies that they really like, I think, are terrible, and some of the movies that I like, they think are terrible. And and you get to the restaurant, and it's really a chance for you to kind of be an ambassador for your university and where you come from, and seeing these guys when you go to Ryan's or Golden Corral, you go to a restaurant to eat. Seeing them take their plate up to the trash and not wait for somebody to get it for them, because that's what we're going to do. See them, take their cup up to the trash and all of that. Seeing them let, some lady with her daughter that's there to eat go in front of them, and you just get to put that on display. And it doesn't matter whether that's in St. Louis or whether that's in Conway, Arkansas, or wherever. That's always a fun time, and you get to go to the hotel, and it never fails. I always have hotel personnel come up to me and say, man, we really enjoyed you guys staying with us. You're just nice, nice to us. So it's one of those things that I just really enjoy about the job. It's a huge perk to me to get to do that. Pulling out of town with the sirens going and all that never gets old. That will never get old as long as I live. That will never get old. My wife and my daughters, they get a kick out of that. They usually park over there at Kroger, and they film it and all that kind of stuff. And the older that my daughters get, they actually understand what they're looking at now. And so it's just it's an incredible part of college football. It's an incredible part of the experience. And what makes it even sweeter this week is we get to go play an incredible opponent. One of a top-ranked opponent in the country. And we've done pretty good in my span as head coach on ranked opponents, and the boys will be ready for it this week.
This is a Central Arkansas defense last year that had a guy in Tremont Smith, who's now playing at Kansas City. Any guys like him on this defense?
Yeah. I mean, they've got some guys on the back end. They've got a safety, number 4, I think, number 4. Tremendous tackler. Against Tulsa, I didn't see him do a whole lot in pass coverage just because of what Tulsa does. But he can fit a run. He can fill a run. He is not afraid whatsoever to put his face in there. Just a really solid ball player. They have really good linebackers who play very, very aggressively. I mean, super aggressively. You know, and sometimes you go, well, they're too aggressive. You know, they may be prone to this or they may be prone to that, whatever the case may be. No, they don't care whatsoever. They're going to come and they're going to try to pop you up underneath your chin, and if you're not ready for it and you're not playing with great effort and pad level, they'll get the best of you, and they play really hard. And then I already talked about the defensive front, but on the back end, that safety's the one who really pops out on film, where you're kind of like, man, this guy, he can be an issue. Now, you know, obviously, like I said, if he plays the pass as well as he does the run, then he'll be a future NFL guy for them as well.
How much success did we see out of your running game on Thursday? I know we saw a lot of yardage, positive plays, some lost fumbles, but did we see a lot of the implementation from all of the summer and fall workouts?
I think so. I mean, you know, you always as negative as you want to be when you're not successful, right? As negative as you want to make it, and as much as you want to just come in the next day or what. And this is football. This is business. This is everybody, right? This is human nature. As negative as you want to be when things don't go right, and usually the plan or the plan of attack for the next day is you're going to come in and you're just going to blow the building up. You're going to make everybody miserable. You're going to be miserable. All of those things. There's always got to be a silver lining. You've always got to find it, especially if you want to improve, if you want to develop from it. Okay, if you want a situation to define you, then you just keep harping on it and harping on it and harping on it and harping on it until it just becomes who you are, right? And it becomes the old, oh, here we go again type deal, right? That's kind of human nature. Oh, here we go again. As opposed to what we did was we looked at the bad, right? Because there's 6 bads, there's 6 turnovers, there's 28 points. That is the bottom line. For 4 scores, I literally could have called Coach Hill and said, hey, you don't need to show up. Okay, you don't need to show up. I'm going to spot you 28 points, and then you can come, and then we'll figure out if we can catch up from there, right? I mean, you can't do that and win ball games. So when you look back at it, you take that and you show the reality of that, right? You take that at face value and you show the reality of that to your football team. Because I'm going to tell you, what was so encouraging and kind of frightening at the same time for me is when we're showing the tape, because we showed clips, right, as a team. Hey, Murray State defeats Murray State. This is how we did it offensively. This is how we did it defensively with misalignments. And what's so incredible is the defense, as they're watching those clips, they have no idea what happened. They have no idea how you get a ball batted and recovered in the end zone. I haven't seen that done since David Pollock at Georgia 20 years ago. You know what I mean? You have 2 big gainers that we literally throw to them, and they return them for a touchdown. And the defense is sitting there watching it, and you can kind of look in their mind, and they're going, oh, my God, we killed ourselves, you know? And then you let the defense show their clips, misalignments, you know, things of that nature. Did it hurt us as bad as 6 turnovers? No. But it's still Murray State defeating Murray State. So you watch that just so everybody gets a realistic view of what really happened, right? So that you can cut out all of the, because I heard it Thursday night, you cut out all of the, here we go, that same mentality, that same losing mentality, right? So you take it and you look at it, you take it for face value, and now you learn from it, all right? And you watch those things, and you find the positives and the silver linings. The silver lining for offense is you have, I think, 13 drives, I think, total. 6 of them, so literally half of them were taken away due to turnovers. So you literally only played half the game, offense, okay? You played half the game, somehow mustered up 285 yards of total offense, and I think 130 rushing or something like that altogether. So let's just say, for simple math, let's say that if you get to double your drives, let's say you double those numbers or at least get close to it, that's a big time night offensively. That's a big time night offensively. defensively, we watch the Murray State beats Murray State, and Coach Johnson, he does a nice job of saying, okay, these were the gift plays. These were where we were not aligned. We were just true gifts, right? And you take those yardages out of it, and you come up to about 211, quote-unquote, earn yards, right, where the other ones were we screwed it up. Now all of a sudden, you change the whole complexion of that game for your kids, and your players are sitting there going, it's easier to wear it, right? It's easier to wear it then because we're sitting there going, golly, boy, we crushed ourselves. We killed ourselves. And I think those are the things that how we've turned around so fast this week, and how yesterday's practice was phenomenal. This week's practice will be phenomenal is because we showed those kids, here's the reality of it. This is what we have to do to get better. Now, here's the plan of how we're going to go do that. And it was no different. So to answer your question, yeah, we ran the ball really well. You know, there's some times where we ran the ball really well. Rodney Castile had some good runs. He had some turnovers. DJP had some good runs, you know. We didn't get Quarterman Sloan in as much as I wanted him to. I think he only played about 8 or 9 plays. So we're going to try to factor him in a little bit more and see if he can give us some explosiveness too. You know, as crazy as it sounds, as much as people roll their eyes, we did some good things the other night. We did some good things. We just killed ourselves with 6 particular plays. We absolutely killed ourselves and gave us no shot of winning that football game.
Were misalignments responsible for giving up right at 300 yards?
Yeah, that, and I mean 96 plays. I mean, good Lord, they ran it 65 times. I mean, you do math, 65 times anything is going to be a pretty high number, and that's when you give them that many opportunities, it's going to be a pretty high number, and that's the bottom line. What happened was they ran 96 plays because, again, we only took half of our drives offensively. We gave the other half away, gave them the ball back. We give them 96 opportunities. They rush it 65 times. That's going to lead to some pretty high numbers. It doesn't matter who's playing. That's going to lead to some pretty high numbers. And then you factor in some of the misalignments, again, some of the us beating ourselves. Then it just kind of starts adding on and adding on and adding on. So that was evident on tape. You know, I'd be honest with you, the thing that I was most discouraged about defensively was not that. It was the 2-minute drive at the end of the half. That was poor. Because we gave them that, because we jumped off sides. And then the second time that we jumped off sides and they wound up scoring, that was the touchdown that they threw. That was the thing that I was the most concerned about. That's the only thing that I was concerned about defensively was that lack of execution right there at our defensive front.
The biggest play you gave up against SIU was 24 yards, I think, 23 yards. Is that another positive? The defense never gave up really what you would consider a true big play?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing I said the other night, and it sounds super cliche. I can go through all of that stat pack and talk about the things that that I want them to be, but the fact of the matter is, I don't care if you're in Tuscaloosa and you're the University of Alabama. If the University of Alabama turns it over 6 times, 3 of which are scores, they literally take the ball on that turnover and score, and then the other one results in a score, the University of Alabama is going to have a hard time winning ball games. It does not matter. The New England Patriots will have a hard time winning ball games if you do that. All the others, and the reason I say that is, and that's the reason why turnovers is our first of 5 truths to winning a football game, is because everything after that, all the rest of the stuff in this packet of paper right there, result from turnovers. Because it's more opportunities to run the football. It's less opportunities for the offense to run. It's less opportunities for the offense to run plays and pass the ball. It's more opportunities, just more plays that the defense has to defend. It's shorter fields. It's all of those things lead back to turnovers, and you cannot turn over the ball and expect to win ball games. Will not happen.